Welcome back to another episode of my mobile workshop. Today I'm going to be working on the cabinet doors with materials that I happen to have, which may or may not be ideal. How's that, huh? For ugly. I got a piece of plywood sitting here. It's big enough to make frames for all the doors on the bottom. Yeah, we're gonna do all of that before I continue with the drawers, routering the edges and stuff. I want to make things functional. I want to make the worktop empty. That's really bothering me because there's so much clutter up here. But maybe finishing these drawers here, assembling those, would be a good idea too. That'll help everything be less of a mess. Speaking of which, my goodness, everything is a mess. My shoes on here and find out where the dogs are. There's a branch that fell during the last storm. That is a substantial thing. I'm glad it didn't fall on my trailer. There's another branch that fell. Looks like it was almost sawed off. Crazy. Crazy. Oh my God. And back here, it's been a few days. Things are starting to dry up finally. Ugh, but that is nasty and swampy. Trees are bent over. Goodness, that is gross. Still gotta come back here and get my sign. Picnic table's good there. We've had a bit of a disaster here. There's two trees that held up the kayaks. One broke in half and fell. Didn't destroy my shower, which is nice. Look at that. Look at that, just broke right in half. There's the other pieces of it. Awful, awful. Wow, this thing just really is falling apart. Some of these trees died a while back. I'm not sure what caused it. Maple trees and a few oak trees that have succumbed to some sort of ick that takes trees out from time to time. Look at this thing. This used to be big and full, and some winds came and threw branches all over the place. Goodness gracious. There's going to be plenty of firewood next year. Sheesh. I guess that's how it has to be. Some things have to die so that other things can live. It's a natural cycle of life. Pretty buggy back here, so we're gonna head back to the trailer, do some work on our workbench. I'm trying to talk and there's bugs following me. Oh my goodness. Whew. Mosquitoes are affectionate today. One thing that I was liking about using this plywood to make my doors is that the wood grain pattern would continue from one door to the next. That should make a nice looking flow aesthetically. One problem though is that these doors are heavy, so I meant to cut them down in an attempt to lighten them up a bit. But first I was going to have to convince my shop assistants here that I did not need their help. That obviously took a little bit of convincing. I do things when the dogs are in their business. Yes. Okay, go, 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 go. Be gone. Go on. I think it's time to break out the router. Yes, hooray for me. I finally got my router out of storage in between dealing with hurricanes and rain and very hot temperatures. I'm gonna turn the fans off for a second so that you can hear me. Had to put the dogs away in the air conditioning, lucky devils. I kind of wanted to touch upon what I'm going to do to this router, even though I don't want to turn this into a router how-to because there's just way too much to tell you guys about routers. They're a little scary because they have an exposed bit that's just going caca cuckoo, and you have to feed it a certain direction because the rotation, it can kick back on you like a mule. That being said, you can get like professional looking results if you set a router up correctly, and it's all about setup, right? It's kind of like painting. So right now I'm taking this piece of wood, I'm gonna line it up with that red mark there. You notice there are slots inside this. I think that once upon a time there were actually things in there like a fence you could put on this, but I find that this is easy. You take a piece of wood, you put it there. I'm going to drill from the bottom and secure this. Since I already marked where the slots are, all I got to do is... That's one. I gotta say, using a router is not one of my favorite things. They're loud, and like I said, they're a bit sketchy. At any moment I expect the thing to come bouncing out. Having my fingers so close to that thing that's spinning is, again, not one of my favorite things. Also here, you see I'm making a notch. And that probably could have been done with a handheld router using a bearing, you know, just rolling it around the perimeter. But again, I don't want to make this a router video. I'm showing the fact that I can use one. I'm using it inside because it's terribly loud. I didn't want the neighbors to think that I was skinning a cat or something. Plus I wanted to contain some of the sawdust, of which this made a lot. Every one of these frames for the doors got routering not only on the inside, but it would then get a routering along the outside as well. Happy day. No time for breaks, Marty. Keep this show rolling. Well, maybe I'll just clean up a little bit. Gotta satisfy that OCD creature that lives inside my brain. Here what I'm doing is I'm taking the 1/8 inch plywood that I made the skins out of, and I'm going to insert that in the inside of the frame. Sounds like rain outside. And there's the outside getting routered. Soon this frame will be ready for assembly. Things were starting to look nice. Finishing them all was going to be a long journey, and this was at least a few steps towards that end goal. That of course included routering the outside of the drawer faces. I was trying to get all the loud, obnoxious routering done in one day. Not bad. I think this is the first part of my workbench that finally was kind of finished. Next there was the frames that just had to be sanded. I sat down to do this because something told me this was going to take a long time. At least it was one of those menial tasks that I could do without using too much of my brain. I like to do that once in a while. I'm actually quite good at it. thankful for every hour I spent sanding in my life. I'll go buy a case of beer. One by one I got them all sanded up and ready for gluing. I wasn't quite sure if I was just going to glue the insert in there or if I was going to use mechanical fasteners as well. Yeah, my patience wore out kind of quickly and decided to use the old crown stapler. Little tiny staples so that they didn't come through. Perfect. This one was almost ready. Just a few more to do and I was ready to hang these things with these hinges. I think these hinges were meant for like kitchen cabinets or something. They keep a little tension on the door, so after they're installed, they kind of close by themselves. Towards the end at least. You'll see what I mean here. We have a door. And it works. We'll get to the knobs and the catches in just a minute. Again, once I had the layout of the hinges figured out, this didn't require a lot of brain power, just a repetitive thing. Rewarding though, kind of like peeling the tape off after you painted something. Now I just needed a catch that would prevent the doors from bouncing a little bit. Hopefully it would keep them closed if ever I were underway in this mobile shop. These little dealies actually turned something that could have been just a DIY door into something that felt a little bit more store-bought and professional. Ha! Need a knob. Like that. That is nice. Just consistent reveal all around. Doesn't open by itself. Like this. Let's do some more. Before I did the knobs on these doors, I added a handle. I got a few extras of these to the sewing machine here. Kind of ties the room together, I thought. And then to keep with the theme, I raided my stash of superfluous watercraft accessories. Recognize this? These parts are used all over Pelican kayaks. And as a way to pay homage to my favorite kayak company, I am going to be using these as knobs for my doors. Most excellent. That's pretty awesome. Yes, sir. I think despite the fact that I didn't use the proper wood to make these doors and that there are woodworkers out there that would cringe when they saw this, I still think everything turned out pretty nice. And don't worry, there's a whole bunch more cool stuff to come. Thanks for watching.